Hi Gums graduates, and welcome to another week of online remote learning. I hope you are all doing well and know that your teachers love and miss you. So the concept that we are going to be talking about today is plot structure. It's kind of like the way a story is set up. So last week we had talked about using context clues as well as figuring out what the text structure is, so what type of text it is. And Adalyn from 326 had come up with the fact that our paragraph from last week was problem and solution. So if you missed that video, definitely go back and watch it. It's just a really quick review of what type of text structures are and should help you a lot with those Vion projects you're working on. So this week we are, like I said, we are talking about plot structure in the way that the story is set up. So we have plot structure, and there are 5 main components of plot structure. And it's one of those things that look like a little zigzag upside down V-line. So the first part of it is exposition. Then we have the rising action, the climax, the falling action, and then the resolution. And we'll talk about that in a little bit more in a second.
So looking at our plot diagram, we start with the exposition. And in the exposition, we are introduced to characters and the setting of the story. From there, we move on to the conflict, and that's where that little circle is, and that's a problem in the story. That kind of is what causes an increase in action, and it's something that normally needs to be fixed. From there, we move on to rising action, that section in purple, and that's where we're getting more conflicts and more major events that are taking place throughout the story. And notice that the rising action takes a while, okay? After that, we move on to the climax, and that's that most exciting point in the story, and it's normally where you see a shift. So you see a shift from there being a bunch of conflicts and a bunch of issues to a part where things are starting to be resolved. In that falling action, the plot starts to slow down, and all of these conflicts and problems that have been happening throughout the story begin to be fixed. The last part we have is the resolution, and it kind of acts like a conclusion to the story. Everything is fixed, the characters go back to normal, the setting might be a little bit different, but pretty much the story is over.
So the paragraph that we're going to be looking at this week talks about a situation that some of you might even face when you are in class, and talks about kind of like the social situations of being a 5th grader. So let's take a look at that.
It was the beginning of the school year, and Sasha was not happy that Jake was her reading partner. School had only been in session for 2 weeks, and Jake had already made fun of her glasses and her blue shoes. Sasha told Mrs. Nelson, her 5th grade teacher, about these rude interactions in hopes of switching reading partners. Unfortunately, Mrs. Nelson told Sasha that Jake would remain her partner for the realistic fiction unit. Still feeling upset about having to work with Jake, Sasha avoided eye contact with him when he walked into their room after recess. Until thud. When Sasha heard this loud noise, she looked up to see that all of Jake's books had fallen out of his backpack. Jake's face turned bright red as he bent down to pick up the mess. Sasha rushed over to him. Despite Jake's rude behavior to her during the first 2 weeks of school, Sasha helped Jake pick up his books and said, "No worries, Jake. Isn't it hard to lug all these books around?" That afternoon, during their reading partnership, Jake thanked Sasha for her kind gesture. He even mentioned that the ideas she shared that day helped him to think of literary reflections. Sasha realized she was learning a lot from Jake too. As the realistic fiction unit came to a close, Sasha and Jake both realized they had learned a great deal from each other and had even found a new friend. Your challenge is to identify the climax and resolution of this paragraph, and on top of that, explain how you know.
So for your Vion project this week, you're going to be looking at 2 stories about the Titanic. Your focus is going to be on the story told by the little girl. And what you need to do is you need to think about which events take place during which parts of the story. So which events take place during that exposition, that kind of introduction portion. Where is the climax of the story? What is that most exciting point? And then kind of like, what are the resolutions? Where is everything fixed? Where is everything okay again? So keep that in mind as you work on your MyOn project, and definitely reach out to your teachers if you're struggling with that portion of it. I hope that everyone has a wonderful week. Definitely keep working hard. Don't forget to comment below with your answers to our challenge question, and just know that your teachers miss you. All right, bye guys.